right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's EstimateRocket Success Webinar. I'm Tom Drost, President of Logical Engine, the creators of EstimateRocket. EstimateRocket is cloud-based software for service contractors that creates efficiencies in every step of their projects from lead to paid. Create and sign estimates on site or online, automatically follow up with customers till the job is sold, and then schedule and invoice a job. It's the all-in-one software that knows your contracting business. Welcome again. Today's success webinar is going to be titled, What the Owners of a Great Seven-Figure Contracting Business Do That You Should Do Too. Before we begin with that, today's session will be recorded and put up on our YouTube channel over the next couple of days. There's also a chat box or question box in the webinar control panel. Please, as the presentation goes on, go ahead and type your questions there. If it's something that's really, needs to be answered right away, we can fit that in if it makes sense. And if not, we'll get them all answered at the end of the presentation. Today's webinar will be presented by guest host Bill Silverman. Bill Silverman is the owner of Springboard Business Coaching. He specializes in coaching the owners of seven-figure contracting companies who've grown their businesses trying to do everything, make every decision, and solve every problem. And now that I do everything management style is no longer working. By trying to do everything, they become the bottleneck in their businesses that's holding their businesses back. And before starting Springboard, 10 years ago, Bill had a 25-year career in senior management positions in human resources, marketing, and business strategy at major corporations like Marriott and Cigna. Bill has taken what he's learned about running large companies and uses it to help his clients create thriving, profitable, multi-million-dollar businesses and balanced lives. I can vouch for that being a very important aspect of building your business for sure. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Bill. Bill, welcome, and thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Tom, and hi, everyone, and welcome. Have you ever wondered why some owners of multi-million-dollar contracting businesses have growing, profitable businesses that seem to virtually run without them? They seem relaxed and happy. They work regular hours, and they take lots of vacations. And when they go on vacation, they don't even check their cell phones or emails. And yet when they get back, things are going great. Does that sound wonderful, right? And yet for many of you, that's not how it is today. Along with the growth have come more problems, fires, more drop balls, more stress, more headaches. And to make things worse, your team won't take ownership for their work, and they're constantly looking to you to solve problems. So you end up being the one responsible for everything, and you feel like you need to be there to manage the day-to-day details just to keep things moving in the right direction. So as you've grown, you're working harder and longer, and you don't get as much time for yourself or for your family. And if you get to take a vacation, it's usually filled with emergency phone calls and emails and worry about what's going on back at the shop. It's exhausting sometimes, isn't it? And if you feel that way, you're not alone. Most owners that I talk to have the feeling that they must be doing something wrong. But the unfortunate thing is with contracting businesses is that these businesses don't come with an owner's guide to guide you as you grow and warn you about the problems like this. But I want to assure you that if you've got a business that's not the way you want it to be and is filled with headaches and problems and stress and long hours, that you can turn this around and create the growing, profitable business that can thrive without you that you really want. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. The question we're going to be discussing is, why are some large contracting businesses so successful while others seem to struggle? So in this presentation that we're going to be covering two areas. The first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what the owners, first I'm going to look at how your current approach to managing your business may actually be perpetuating the problem performance that you have and keeping your business small, filled with stress and frustration. That's what we're going to do first, because first I want to see very clearly what the problem is before we go on and talk about what the owners of great contracting businesses do that can help you turn that around. So the second thing we are going to do is I'm going to show you what the owners do that you can do too to create a lasting cycle of success for your business and help you create a balanced life. What I'm going to share with you is part of the work that I do with my clients. I specialize in working with clients over $1 million who are struggling with these kinds of issues. And clients that have fully implemented the things that I'm going to share with you today have stimulated strong growth, added hundreds of thousands of dollars to their bottom lines, and have much more balanced lives than they did before. So that's what we're going to talk about. So that sounds good. You're in the right place. As Tom said, please type questions into the question box, and after the presentation, we'll cover as many of those as we can. So let's get going. So many owners that I talk to have a belief that the bigger your business is, the more headaches, problems, time at work you'll have, which means less time for yourself and less time for your family. The belief is that it just comes with the territory. And I'm sure that many of you who are listening to the webinar today have a similar belief pattern. But what I want to assure you is that this belief is not true. You can grow a bigger business without any of the headaches and problems that many of you may be facing. In this first section, I want to show you how you might be unintentionally keeping your business small and filled with problems. So that's what we're going to do right now. And as you listen to this, I want you to listen for things that you might be doing. So as we go through this discussion, please pay attention and see if you can relate to any of the things that I'm talking about. But just to start off, when you were a startup or a very small company, your success depended on your ability to do everything. I don't know how many of you know who MacGyver is or were familiar with the MacGyver TV series from the 80s. And then I think it came back again in the 2010s. But MacGyver was this genius super agent who worked for a shadowy agency that was devoted to righting the wrongs of the world. And the cool thing about MacGyver was because of his genius, he could solve any problem. The show usually ended up with MacGyver in some impossible situation, locked in a room with a bomb ready to go off. And he always saved the day with something like a paperclip and some duct tape. And that's why I love that show so much.
The classic.
But, yeah, it was a classic. And the reason I liked it so much is, and the reason I'm mentioning it here is because MacGyver to me represents the epitome of what makes an owner like you successful. He's creative, he's resourceful, he's daring, he never gives up. He could solve every problem. He had the stamina to fight the good fight day in and day out. He could do everything. And if MacGyver had a motto, it would be, if it's to be, it's up to me. And that's kind of the way I look at business owners. When you're building a business from the ground up, that's what it takes. It takes being like MacGyver. And the fact is that most businesses don't get off the ground unless you're multi-talented, highly motivated, hardworking, achievement-oriented leader of a business. But as your business grows from a solo to a multi-million-dollar business with 5 people, 50 people, 100 people or more, depending on what part of the contracting world you're in, things get much more complex than they were when you were small. You have more customers, you have more employees, you probably have more services than you did when you were smaller. And with so many competing priorities, customer and employee needs and moving parts in your business, it's hard to manage it all and do an effective job doing it all yourself. And here's the rub, most owners don't adjust to the new challenges of leading their larger, more complex business. They're still trying to be MacGyver. They're still trying to do it all, manage everything, make every decision, solve every problem, and be everywhere all the time to make sure everything works out. And this actually causes the less than sterling performance that you might be facing in your business. One of the most common complaints that I get from owners is that their team won't take ownership of their work. They won't make decisions and they won't solve problems. Instead, what they do is they come to you and they seem helpless and constantly going to you for answers. And what I want you to know is that you're causing that problem. You being MacGyver actually makes them helpless. I want to share with you a quote from one of my clients that when he said it, I thought it was so on point that I wrote it down. I want to share it with you today just to expand on that whole idea of how you may be causing these problems. So this is what he said. He said, I ran our 40-person company like we had 7 people. I never took the time to really tell my team what to do and then hold them accountable to do it. And then I wondered why they did things that drove me crazy. I spent my time doing their work, and then I wondered why I wasn't getting my things done. I wasn't doing things to help move the company forward. I was making them dependent on me. So the crazy thing is that when you're small, being MacGyver is actually a great thing, but as you grow above $1 million and you have more people and more moving parts, being MacGyver actually starts to cause the problems that it used to be so helpful in your business, and is actually part of the reason that you're holding your business back. The more you continue to try and do everything and be the go-to person for everything, the more you make your team dependent on you. In fact, in psychology, and way back when I was a psychology major, they call this learned helplessness. The basic concept of learned helplessness is that the more you do for others, the less opportunity they have to learn to do things for themselves. So you end up taking on more work and solving more of their problems and unintentionally making things worse. It's kind of scary if you're not really in tune to it. And ultimately, you end up with so much on your plate that you're having trouble balancing it all. You're not returning phone calls, you're not following up on leads, you're not being able to supervise all the different projects and things that are going on, and the quality of your business starts to slip, and your customers are complaining. And before you know it, you're working those long hours trying to keep things together, and you still can't get everything done. And the net result is that your stress and frustration start to rise. You feel things spinning out of control. Your business stops growing, your profits slip, because there's just not enough of you to go around. And it just sounds exhausting. Every time I give a presentation like this and talk about it, I get exhausted. And many owners consider downsizing at this point. And so I just want to ask you, can you see yourself, or at least parts of yourself in this picture? Most owners that I talk to can. And the bottom line is that your tendency to be the go-to person for everything is the root cause of the problems you're facing in your business. What got you to be successful up to $1 million, that MacGyver way of running your business, is actually not going to take you to success later on. This picture here is a picture I got from one of my clients. This is my org chart. The dots around the circle are his people. He's in the center, and everything has to go through him. And that's what the problem is. You've become the bottleneck in your business, and it's hurting your business and it's killing you. But I just want you to know, don't feel bad about this. It's not your fault. Because businesses change so gradually, that it's hard to see in the day-to-day that these changes are happening, and that what used to work so well, this MacGyver way of managing, is now holding your business back. So what I want to talk about from here is I want to talk about what the owners of great multi-million-dollar contracting businesses do instead to make their businesses work so well. So to summarize in one sentence what the owners of great multi-million-dollar contracting businesses do that others don't, I would say that they focus their role on leading their business and managing their team rather than trying to do everything themselves. Again, they focus their role on leading their business and managing their team rather than trying to do everything themselves. That's the key. So they know that their job is no longer to be MacGyver. Their job is no longer to do the work and be the go-to person. Instead, the way I like to think about them is that they treat their role as if they're the architect and general contractor of their business. And they actually think about their business as like a design build project. They design it, they map out how they're going to build it, and then they use their team as their subcontractors to actually make it happen. So their role is to create the vision and plan for the business. That's how they lead. They lead by creating the vision and plan for the business that they want to grow. And then they manage the business by creating a strong, self-sufficient team and building their business through that team. So rather than do everything themselves, they're actually using their team as their subcontractors to help them build the business. So I'm going to drill down into that in a lot more detail. Now, ideally, this shift from doing to managing happens gradually over time as you grow. It's not like you wake up one day and say, I'm going to stop doing and now I'm going to only manage. It's kind of the percentage of time that you spend doing goes down over time as you grow your business, and the time that you spend leading and managing goes up. This, in my opinion, is the key shift that summarizes what makes the owners of great multi-million-dollar contracting businesses successful. And it can be the key to success for you too. It's awkward, but the more you gradually step back from doing things and lead and support your team in getting those things done, the more your team's going to step up and become self-sufficient. You got to kind of, let go gradually so that they can learn how to do these things on their own. This expands their capacity for growth, and is the key to making you have a business that can thrive when you're not there, so that you can go on vacation and not have to worry about your business. If you try to do everything and continue to be MacGyver, you stifle your team's growth, and that limits your profit, your growth potential, and it's the source of your stress and frustration. So you got to gradually move back and let your team do more and more. So what I'd like to do now is share some of the details of that so that you can get more information about how you can actually do this in your business. So let's talk about leading first. So the owners of great contracting businesses build a vision for their business and a plan on how they're going to build to it. As I said before, it's like a design build project. So I want to walk you through the steps briefly because many of you are familiar with planning, but this is one of the first things that I do with all of my clients. And you may not think about it this way, but as a coach, I think about your business, as your masterpiece. It's like it's your art project, except instead of painting or sculpting, you're using your employees and your the services that you provide to create the business that you really want to create. And if you were going to build a dream house, you wouldn't just buy a piece of land and throw a bunch of wood out there and start building. You'd go to an architect and sketch out your dream house. The architect would turn that dream house vision into a plan, a blueprint, and then hand it over to a general contractor who would build it. And that's kind of the notion that I'm thinking about here. So as the architect of your business, the first thing that you need to do is envision the business and life that you really want. In my opinion, failing to envision this business and life that you want, is the single biggest factor holding many business owners back from getting the business they really want to have. It's if you read any self-help books, every self-help book and success guru is clear on this one point, that you have to start with the end in mind. You have to envision what you're going to build in order to put the right resources at the right time in place to build what you want to have. So the more clearly you can picture what you want, and the more you're able to map out the steps that you need to make it happen, the more likely it is to actually come to pass. So begin with the end in mind. Sketch out a vision of the business that you really want to create and the life that goes with it. And then work back from where you are today to start to build it. So using that dream business and life vision as your template, what you can start to do is create a punch list and identify the gaps between the business you have today and the one you really want. So once you really have a good idea of what you really want, you can start to see where the gaps are and the things that you're going to need to put in place. And what I have my clients do is put a punch list together of everything that you think you need to do to create that dream business and life. And if you're honest with yourself, you're probably going to have a pretty long list. I mean, it could be a lot of things, and it could take you a while to get to where you want to go. But the next step is then to prioritize. As a busy business owner, you can't take on too many projects at any one time. So what I do with my clients is have them focus on no more than 3 to 5 things at a time that they're going to start to work on to systematically start to build the business they really want to have. If you do too many things, you work on a lot of things and you get none of them done. It's better to work on a few things and get those significant things done to move your agenda forward before you take on other things. So no more than 3 to 5. And then when you finish those priorities, you can add other things to the list. And a great way to sequence your priorities is to create a long-range sort of blueprint, plan, calendar if you want, for what you're going to do to build your ideal business. So this is just a sample. It's broken down by year and by quarter, and it's across the top. You can see some of the things that this business owner wants to create a $5 million business with 15% profit. He wants a business that can run itself. He wants everybody in the company to work together, have real teamwork, in the best interest of the company and the customer. You can see he wants to win best place to work and best contracting company in Philadelphia. I'm in Philadelphia, so that's why. And he wants balance in his work and life. So those are kind of some of the key elements of the vision. And then what you can do then is then take the items that you have on your punch list, and you can start to find the right places, and the right times to do things. So this is just an example, but I just wanted you to see, how this might look. So you can take all the things on your punch list and you can, lay them out over 3 to 5 years so that you're not doing too many things at any given time. But if you do these things over time, you will start to make big improvements in your business. So now what you've really got is a rough project timeline for building your dream business. So this is how you lead. You have to lead by first determining where you want people to go. So that's number one. And let's move on from there. Somebody was trying to call me. I hope it wasn't you, Tom. So there is huge.
Nope, not me.
Okay. So I can't say this enough because people are always going, yeah, this is just business 101, but I can't tell you how few business owners I talk to really have a plan to execute. And there's just such huge power in creating a vision for your business and life and a blueprint to actually build it. It helps align and focus you and all of your people and resources around what you're trying to accomplish. And because you know where you're going, it eliminates distractions that don't really add to the success of your business. It also maximizes the chances that you're going to create the business that you really want. So I highly recommend that you borrow this practice from those owners of great businesses because it'll make a big impact on your business too. And it really does away with all the bright and shiny objects that you may be considering, because if you know what you're building towards, it makes it really easy for you to, much easier to say what fits into my vision and what doesn't. So creating a vision and a plan is how great owners of great multi-million-dollar contracting businesses, that's how they lead. So what I want to do next, and what you get at the end is, if you do it right, you end up with the vision of the business that you really want. And you end up building that vision. So what I want to do next is talk about how multi-million-dollar contractors who have great businesses manage their business to ensure that they actually reach their vision. So that's where we're going to go next. What they do in a nutshell is they replace the brute force sort of MacGyver, if it's to be, it's up to me, I do everything approach to managing. They replace that, everything's on my shoulders. That management style no longer works. They replace that with team and structure. So I want to break those two things down, structure and team, so that you can see more specifically what I mean. So great owners run their business through key managers. As we were talking about a little earlier, everything can't go through you anymore. You have to build a team as if you had a team of subcontractors and run your business through them. So above $1 million, roughly $1 million, it depends on your industry. So if you're in another industry, it may be even a little bit higher. When you have maybe 12, 15 people, there's so many competing priorities and customers and employees and moving parts in your business that you can't do it all anymore. So what this org chart here with you in the center and everybody around you looking to you for answers no longer works. So what the owners of successful 7-figure and larger contracting businesses do is they run their business like a major corporation would. What they do is they break their business down into chunks. It's a technical term, chunks, like marketing and sales, operations, office, finance, HR, and your crews. There can be some other chunks as well, but they assign managers to take responsibility for running these different parts of the business. So they, maybe the first thing they do is they hire somebody to run the office. Then they hire somebody to run operations or marketing and sales. Depends. If you're an owner who likes to sell, then maybe you hire somebody to run operations. If you love operations and you're not much for selling, then maybe you hire somebody for sales. But ultimately, as you get big enough, you're going to assign managers to take full responsibility for running those different parts of the business. And then your role becomes you manage those people just like the CEO of a major corporation does. I used to work at Marriott, and we had 250,000 people at Marriott. And Bill Marriott knew he couldn't manage them all. So he did this. He broke the business down into pieces, assigned different managers to run those pieces, and he ran Marriott through those managers. It's the only way. This is the model that all larger corporations use. And once you get it down and you get the hang of it, you can grow your business from 15 people to 50,000, and the same methodology works. Now, you might be saying, Bill, that's all great, but I already do this. I already run my business through key managers. So I just want to make a key distinction here, because I find that a lot of people don't really know what I mean specifically. So so maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I just want to make this clarification for you so you know what I'm talking about. There's a big difference between letting managers supervise parts of your business and actually letting them own their function and run it. Okay? Difference between supervising and owning and running. So that's what I want to make just so you can check yourself and see. But when I think of a manager who's supervising part of your business, I think of somebody who's overseeing the work, but they're primarily doing whatever you tell them to do. They're still looking to you for answers. They're carrying out your orders. They rely heavily on you to solve problems and make decisions. They're really, in a real way, you're still being MacGyver, and you're still acting as if you believe that if it's to be, it's up to me. You're just using them as kind of a gopher, arms and legs. That's not what I'm talking about here. When I talk about somebody who's taking personal responsibility and owning their function, what I'm talking about is a person who the buck stops with them. I want to kind of lay out sort of my definition. Let's talk about an operations manager, somebody that's running the delivery of services in your business. You could fill in the blank, but this is my definition. The operations manager could be the sales manager, could be the office manager, could be the marketing manager, fill in the blanks. But the operations manager is the one person who's responsible for achieving the operations department goals and objectives. The operations manager is the owner and steward of the operations function. Steward, in case you're not familiar, is, they're actually responsible for the care and feeding and improvement of that function. They're responsible for planning the function's success, implementing whatever needs to be done to make it successful. They're where the buck stops. No excuses. They can go to you and consult with you for support, but they've got the ball. They're managing it. So if the company's goal is to increase gross profit of the work that gets done in the field from 45 to 50%, then your operations manager owns that responsibility. They're responsible for planning how it's going to get done, for evaluating what's happening. They own that. Now, of course, you oversee them, but they're independent and they take personal responsibility for getting it done. And that's what I'm talking about. To be successful, once you have a lot of people and moving parts, you need a team of managers who can run this without a lot of your time and attention. And imagine how great it would be to have a team of independent managers who could share the load with you of managing the business so that you didn't have to do it all yourself. So that's one of the key things that the owners of these successful multi-million-dollar contracting businesses do. They build that team. They develop their managers so that they can really be successful on their own. Now, one of the things I hear a lot is, and you may be thinking this yourself, is that having independent, empowered managers is a great idea, but it's easier said than done. In fact, some owners that I talk to think that it's not even possible to make that happen. There is a firm belief out there that those people just don't exist. In fact, one of the things I hear a lot is that my team just needs too much babysitting. They won't take ownership of their work. They won't make decisions. Instead, they, even though I try to empower them, that they just seem helpless, and they're still constantly coming to me for answers. Does that sound familiar to you guys? So that's what we want to talk about next, is that successful multi-million-dollar contracting business owners do this. They replace the hands-on management, the MacGyver, I got to be everywhere management, with an effective performance management system, so that they don't have to babysit and micromanage their team. So for those who don't really know the term performance management system, in my eyes, and I'll go into this in a little more detail in a second, but a performance management system, it provides your team with structure, support, and guidance that they need to perform at a high level without you having to micromanage them. So structure, support, guidance. I think of a performance management system as like bumpers in bumper bowling. I don't know if you've ever done bumper bowling yourself or with your kids or nephews and nieces, but this is a picture of bumper bowling. Bumper bowling puts these bumpers in so that you can't roll the ball into the gutter, which makes bowling a lot more fun. So you can roll the ball down. It can go to the left or right and hit those gutters those barriers that are there that keep it from going into the gutter. And ultimately, unless you roll it so slow that it doesn't make it to the end, you hit pins and you knock things down. And that's what a good performance management system is. It makes it hard for people to do things wrong and makes it much more easy for people to excel. And it makes your results more consistent and predictable. And when you have those gutters in place, then you don't have to micromanage as much. So this is kind of my, there could be other elements, but this is what I think of as a performance management system. It's got, it's what you use to surround your employees with support and guidance. So it's got goals and plans. So your employees know what they're trying to achieve and how they're going to achieve it. You have clear organizational structures, like clear job descriptions, so your employees know exactly what their role entails. Clear org charts, so there's a real clear connection between the different levels of management and also between functions in your business. It's important that the connections between marketing and sales and operations in the office, that those be clear and tight and well defined. So all of these organizational structures that seem, most people don't pay attention to, in my eyes, are really important if you want to have an organization where everybody knows what their role is, how they're supposed to do it, who they're accountable to, and how they connect up with other people in the business. So clear organization structures. Procedures and training. Your team really shouldn't have to figure out what their job is and how to do it. It's up to you to give them procedures so that they know exactly how they're supposed to do the work that they're supposed to do, and training. So a lot of times when I see owners complaining about their managers not taking ownership of their functions, it's because what they're really being asked to do is make up their job, create their procedures, train themselves. It's like throwing them in the deep end when they don't know how to swim and hoping they're going to figure it out for themselves. So a good performance management system has strong procedures and training. It has monitoring and feedback. Regular feedback and employee evaluations is a critical part of keeping people on path and letting them know when they're doing things well and when they're not. Incentives and recognition, so to keep people motivated. A management process, which I'll drill down into in just a minute, for how you're going to manage the business and keep everybody moving in the right direction. So that's what I think of as a performance management system. Now you can, in your own head, think about how many of those things you have in place. But the best performing companies have a fairly complete performance management system in place that provides this training and guidance and support consistently to their employees so they can perform their best. The big problem is that I see in many companies is that these performance management systems are almost absent or very incomplete at best. And that forces you to micromanage because without you being everywhere all the time, they won't know what to do. So the key is that you have to start replacing your hands-on management style with these performance management tools to keep them, from rolling the ball in the gutter. Now, I'd like to, but we don't have time to go over all these elements today. So I just want to drill down into one of the critical elements of this performance management system that really doesn't get as much time and attention as I would like it to. So I'm going to go into that in just a second. I need a drink for just a sec. It's thirsty in here. And so I want to drill down into this management process. And you may not even know what a management process is, but I'm going to drill down and tell you about what it is and why I think it's so important. So a management process is the procedure or system that you as the owner use to manage the business and keep everybody aligned and moving in the right direction to meeting or exceeding your goals. It's the system that you use to manage the business without having to micromanage. So I hope that makes sense. We have procedures for everything, but rarely do I see owners that have procedures for how they're going to run the business. And but you find those routinely in the best run companies, the most successful ones. The reason I've got this GPS up here is because, I think that your management process is like GPS for your business, your GPS. With GPS, if you have GPS, you set the destination for your trip in GPS. GPS maps out the course to get there. And as you head down the road following its directions, it constantly checks where you are relative to where you need to be. It also looks down the road to see if there are any problems that they might want to avoid. And it's absolutely relentless in keeping you on the right road to getting to your destination in the fastest, most effective way. And I think that that's the model that owners should follow in their management process. You are GPS for your business. You set the destination. That's your vision and plan. You map out the turn-by-turn directions to get there. So that's, it's part of the plan. What are you going to do this year, next year, and all that? And then your role then is to be absolutely relentless in working with your managers to make sure they stay on the right path to getting to their destination. That's your role. You set the vision, you map out the plan, you keep tweaking your company and your employees and your managers to make sure people are on the right path. And if something happens, then you recalculate and calculate a different route to get to where you want to go. And so that's you, GPS. And your management process, the way I look at it, is made up primarily of a series of regularly scheduled meetings that happen throughout the year with you and your management team and the company as a whole. So I just want to just talk about a few of those meetings. I think it's, it starts at the end of the year or the beginning of the following year, developing your annual plan with your key managers. This is really important. This is where you set goals for the year with your team. You lay out what needs to be done to accomplish those goals. You create a measurement system to monitor progress And once you have the destination and the roadmap mapped out, then you've got everybody on your team aligned, and then your role for the rest of the year is to relentlessly follow through to make sure that everyone stays on track. So that's the first step. Then the next most important thing, and I recommend that you do this, is share your vision and plan annually with all of your employees and give them updates monthly. I mean, everybody. I just came back from a painting client that I have. He's got 70 employees. We did what we call a company kickoff meeting. We spend a half a day laying out what happened to the company last year, successes, areas needing improvement, and what the goals and game plan are going to be for 2020, and how each employee can contribute. This keeps everybody aligned and energized throughout the year. The kickoff meeting is about telling them what you do, and then on a monthly basis, you get together with them to tell them how the company's doing. I highly recommend that. Then you meet monthly and quarterly with your management team to evaluate progress and adjust your plan. The purpose of the monthly management team meeting is just to update the team of your managers about progress towards your goal, celebrate successes, identify areas that need to be improved, and make sure that all of your efforts are coordinated. On a quarterly basis, I believe that you want to get the team together and do a mini planning session just to take stock of where you are and figure out whether there's any mid-course corrections that you need to make to keep the business on track. So the monthly ones are more updates and little tweaks, but once a quarter or once every third of a year, I think it's really important that you take a deep dive into your plan and say, are we still heading in the direction we want to head? Do we need to do anything differently for the rest of the year in order to ensure that we're going to make our goals? And then finally, and I think this is probably the most important thing, I firmly believe that you need to have weekly meetings with each of your managers. Weekly meetings, 1 hour, one-on-one, could be a little shorter, but not to be missed. This is where you review their results for the prior week. This is where you can hold them accountable for achieving their goals. This is where you can, see what problems they have and how they plan to solve them and coach them if they don't have a good solution. This is the place where you can delegate tasks to them. This is also where you can mentor them to improve their performance. Instead of managing by wandering around, you focus all of your management attention on them for an hour to see what they're doing, what they plan to do, what's working, what's not working. And this gives you an opportunity to in a concentrated time frame, spin them in the right direction for the week. You know what they're supposed to do. They know what they're supposed to do. So you can, you don't have to bother with each other. You can keep each other you don't have to interrupt each other during the entire week. These weekly meetings are critical in ensuring that your managers are heading in the right direction and doing the right things. And then you can leave them alone for the rest of the week without having to micromanage them. And as they gradually demonstrate that they're proficient and competent, that they're taking personal responsibility for their function, and they're telling you what they're going to do and they're actually doing it, you begin to build trust with them. And that's what makes it easier for you to let go. So it's critical that you have these meetings without fail, because it's that trust building process that allows you to let go so that you can focus on other things. And if you do that, you've given your team and your managers enough structure to succeed. So like bumpers in this bumper bowling, your performance management system will ensure that all of your employees are performing effectively, even when you're not around. And how great would that be to be able to go away on a trip for a week or even 2 weeks and just know that everything's working out famously. So what I want to do now is just head for the end. Let's face it, having a business that's not running the way you want it to is not fun. I know that. When your growth comes with more headaches and more stress and more hours and less time for yourself and your family, and the ripple effects on you and your family and your team, and it's rough. And you might even be wondering at certain points, like, why bother? Which is rough. I hate to see people in that situation. But if you do the things that the owners of great multi-million-dollar contracting companies do, and you shift your role from doing to leading and managing, and you create a vision and plan for your business, and you run your business through your key managers, and replace this hands-on management system with a performance management system, you can really turn your business around. And I just want to illustrate the impact that this can have on your business, so you can see what's possible. I want to share with you a little quickie case study for a client of mine, Ron, and who made an amazing transformation in his business. When I started working with Ron, his business was about $2 million, and I think he had like 30 people, and it just was not a happy place. His business hadn't been growing for several years. He was working lots of hours. He was super stressed out and worried about keeping his guys working. And he wasn't making any money. He lost, he was negative 3.2 profit margin, which meant that he lost about $67,000 the first, when we first started working together. And he was, your typical MacGyver manager. And so what over the years, about a little over a year, we implemented a lot of the things that I went over here today. And the transformation, if you roll the clock forward, was really dramatic. It didn't all happen at once, it's not like a rags to riches story. But what you'll see here is that his business started growing again. In the first year, his profit went from negative to positive and, kept on climbing. He was working less. He was much happier. His business actually gained, over the 3 years after we started working together, about $600,000 in sales, but about, $260,000+ in net profit, which is enough to make anybody a happy camper. But, he had a more balanced life too. The thing that I will always remember is that when I met his wife after the first couple of years, she gave me this big hug. And this always makes me a little choked up, but so I hopefully I won't choke up here. But this is why I coach. She said, I don't know what you've done, but he's such a happier guy, and we're happier. He spends more time with the kids. Whatever you're doing, just keep doing it, because we're so appreciative of, but it really wasn't about the business. It was all about him, and just how having a better business had changed his life. And consequently everybody around him's life too, which I think is just a neat thing. And you all have that capability too. So just imagine how great your business could be if you could do some of these things. Imagine what your life would be like if you could implement these things and have the kind of turnaround that Ron had. Imagine what your spouse and kids would say. That's what we're talking about here. And if you just model the things that the owners of these successful companies do, you can have this too. So before I wrap up and you head off, I just wanted to, it's not possible for me to share everything that you need, in a 60-minute webinar. There's just too much to cover, and we covered a lot of stuff. But I'd love to continue to give you individual support to help you build your business and make your business thrive without you and help you balance your life. So for those of you who are interested, what I want to share with you now is that, I'd like to offer you what I call the great multi-million dollar contracting business strategy session. I'm going to take a drink so I can talk as opposed to you thinking that I'm getting all choked up.
It's a dry time of the year.
It is. My humidifier in my home isn't working, and that just makes it worse. But so what are these strategy sessions? They're first of all, they're complimentary. They're an hour to 90-minute one-on-one phone conversation with me about your business and your business strategy. And they're designed to support you in creating, this business that can be growing and profitable and thriving without you over the next 12 months. So, you will identify key issues that are, stunning your growth and limiting your profit and adding frustration and stress to your day. And we'll determine exactly how to transform your business into the business that you really want. So you'll walk away with a clear action plan about what it's going to take to create that business. So the next step that I would recommend for you, if you're interested, is for you to sign up for one of these strategy sessions. But a couple of qualifiers, because I only have a certain amount of slots available. If you're interested, these are for you if you're an owner, if your business is over $1 million, and you're committed to making big changes in your business over the next 12 months to create the business you really want. Because, creating in the business that you really want, to have those kind of shifts takes your energy, your time, your commitment, your effort, and, even your willingness to spend some money on things, to invest in yourself and your business to get you to where you want to go. But the strategy session is really just about your strategy. I mean, if at the end you want to talk to me about coaching, we can do that. But, these are, to help you implement. So if you're one of those people and you want to do this, this is how you sign up. I have an online calendar, and to try and make it easy, I shrunk the URL. So if you're watching this, you can see it's tinyurl.com/stratcess. I tried strategy session, but it was already taken. But let me spell that if you're listening on the phone. It's tiny, tinyurl.com/strat, STRATSES. So if you type that into your browser, it'll take you to my calendar. You can pick a day and time, and that's all you got to do. Or if that doesn't work for you, this is my email address. You can just email me. But the easiest way, the surest way, is to tinyurl.com/strat SES, SES. And that's it. So if that's of interest to you, feel free to go ahead and schedule yourself for one of those. And at the time, I will call you and we'll have a good discussion about your business.
And if any
That's
of those
all I
don't
have
work,
for today. Sorry, Tom, you were just going to say
no
something.
problem. If any of those contact methods don't work, you can get a hold of us at estimaterocket.com and just let us know you want to contact Bill and give us your email address, or if you're a user, we'll know who you are, and we'll reach out to them too. So that's always an option. We do have, if anybody has any questions, we did have one question from Bo. It was, what are the three key things again? Create a vision, run through key managers, and what was the third one?
Performance management. Create a structured performance management system to, make doing their job easy, like bumper bowling.
Yep. And then a follow-up question on that was that we're not quite at 1 million. Will you still consider working with us?
Yeah, if you're close. I mean, if you're $200,000 or $300,000, no. But if you're 750, sure.
That's fair. We have quite a few successful, very successful EstimateRocket customers who also have worked with Bill and are more successful than they used to be. So it's a good, about as good of testimonial, I guess, as I can give. So, and I know we've studied in our company, we've gone through the same process of growth and, have implemented similar systems, and it they work. But as Bill said, you got to be willing to, you got to be open to change, because they do definitely require change.
Yeah, it's a lot like being right-handed your entire life and then having somebody tell you that in order to be successful from now on, you have to be left-handed. It's awkward, when you're used to trying to do everything and now you've got to let go of that and run your business through your team. It's very awkward and scary. But, if you follow the right processes, you can make the transition without too much pain and suffering.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. Other question, will this webinar be able to be replayed? Yep, this session has been recorded and we'll post it within the next few days. Check out our search for EstimateRocket on YouTube, or if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can get it from our support site, it'll be posted there.
Awesome. So,
any other?
If you think of any questions that you didn't get today, you can always email me. I really appreciate you, Tom, sponsoring this today, and it is still New Year, so Happy New Year to everybody. I hope it's a good year for everybody.
Definitely. We'll second that one for sure.
Thanks. So if that's it, if there are no more questions, I just wish everybody the best.
Yeah, I think that looks like it for a lot of thank yous coming in. And in closing, I'd like to thank you all for attending today. At EstimateRocket, we really do believe that if our customers succeed, then we'll succeed as well. So these sessions are really designed to help everybody get the most out of their companies and really build those companies that they really want to have. So definitely a pleasure. Thank you, Bill, for presenting again. I always have a few takeaways from these sessions, no matter how many times I go through it. There's always something new you learn, and I always appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Welcome. Have a great day, everybody.
And we all look forward to seeing you all again at our next EstimateRocket Success Webinar. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.